Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Dr. Weeze, and thanks for tuning into my live stream. I'm live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, so drop by if you want to chat on Twitch, and you can feel free to ask any questions. Tonight, I am looking at the ROG Maximus IX Apex, and the last three videos that I've done have all been about preparation for LN2, and tonight we're going to hit the LN2. So let's have a look at what we've got going on the bench. I'll just switch across there quickly. So just to give you a rundown of what's going on here, I've got the Corsair AX1500R supplying all the power for tonight. That's here on the side. Let's just bring it into the picture. So Corsair AX1500R, that's our powerhouse for this evening. The motherboard, as I said, is the Maximus IX Apex. I've got a set of G-Skill bead die. The video card is just a GT730 Asus, just a general small little card. For the cooling solution tonight, I'm using the Kingpin pot purely because I was using the Kingpin Inferno for the first time and I hadn't cut the rods yet, and using the Beast with these rods was just a little bit too out of control. So I was just using the Kingpin pot for this first session. Then what else do I have going on here? Right, so I've just got the temperature probe connected up. I've got everything up and running. I need to actually make sure that I can get into Windows before we get going too crazy. And I haven't built any new OSs yet for KB Lake for Z270. So the OS that I've got on here at the moment is the one that I was using for doing some testing on another board. It did work on Z270, so it should work here. So I am monitoring the chat on Twitch, so feel free to just jump past and say how is it, or ask any questions, or give me some feedback. This is my first session with Z270 and LN2. I'm not 100% sure how things are going to go today, but at the very least I think we should be able to get something out of it. What am I looking for? I'm looking for CPU fan. Okay, so we can just ignore that one. And all I really want to do is just quickly check to see that I can boot into Windows, and then we're going to cool down. So with the release of most new chipsets and all that type of stuff, there's always from Asus a nice little sort of guide that they publish with the release. So I printed that out, and for the first session I'll go through here and just read some of it out and give it all a try and see how far we can get. The CPU I'm using is a lowish VID. It was delidded last night on the stream, and yeah, I do not know any of the performance, or do not know what to expect out of it. If I can get 6.4 tonight, Cinebench, I'll be happy. Anything above 6.4 I think would be pretty good. So things to look out for that others have been commenting about, that I've been picking up on, is crack, cold bug. Then to remove cold bug there's a method. And then also yeah, I just want to check out the condensation issues with using this heater from Kingpin for the first time. I'm quite interested to see how things perform. It is going to be interesting because I'm using this pot for the first time in many generations, so we'll see how different it is from the Beast. But other than that, I'm just going to mumble along as I go along, and yeah, please do drop any questions on the chat on Twitch. But thanks for tuning in, so we can go through this journey together. Right, so I've got the Windows up and running. Let's just check if we plug in a USB. Can we see that? On the other board I had to reboot with the USB connected in order to read it. Okay, this one works, and what I'm going to do quickly is just install the Asus drivers for KB Lake. Let's put a nice new wallpaper on as well. Set as desktop. Right, so that looks a little bit more nice and neat. There's Turbo V Core and File Explorer. Okay. Now just remove the old one and then we'll reinstall. I'm not going to install if I don't need to, so let me just quickly come back here, open up the Twitch. Right, okay, so chipset, hard drive, wallpaper, OC panel. So I haven't updated my OC panel. I don't know if I need to. Let's just update it anyway. So I've got an OC panel 2, and let's just get that firmware up and running quickly. Okay, mem tweak it, yeah, that's a good idea. Alrighty, so the basic settings for extreme overclocking on the Maximus IX Apex. Enable LN2 mode, I've done that. On the next line they talk about PLL termination voltage is needed for high cache frequency and on some chips high core frequency. Okay, so first we need to try 1.5 PLL termination and increase from there. So that's fine. Then internal PLL voltage to 0.1 if you have a problem with lockups when applying ratios. Okay, so when what I like to do is I like to read through the manual or the guide and then highlight the keywords. So it's pretty much the same as like when you're reading a job spec or a development request or something like that. Just go through and highlight the keywords. So when you are busy with something, for instance, if I now go and I try and apply voltages or something to that effect and it locks up, remember back to the guide where the guide actually says, even this scenario do A, B, and C. Now the reason why I like to highlight it is because when you say like with lockups, and I've highlighted with lockups, so if I go and change a ratio and it locks up, I can go back immediately and say, all right, what they suggested to do was change the PLL voltage. So yeah, then the RSVD/CBB fix is to be switched at minus 120 degrees. So once we get to minus 120, I'm guessing that would automatically set some voltages a little bit higher than normal to avoid the cold boot bug and all that type of problem. For most other settings, auto values, so that's quite straightforward. LN2 methodology, first try with the RSVD CBB fix. That's aggressive voltages, like I said, or post-say boot fixes. LN2 mode has been enabled to work, will only assert when powering up the system. If you use ambient temperatures, it will most likely cause 00 post. Okay, so that's still other interesting. Start with PLL bandwidth level 2, which should give you no cold bug on most chips. Then increase step by step until you go down to the lowest temperature. Alright, so that will help discovering what the cold bug is. Alright, so let's just get some. So we've got a working Windows, and one thing we want to just quickly test is, can we change ratios, or do I need to install any software? See, okay. So let's just go ahead and hit 46, apply. Alright, so our ratios are changing. That's great. We can go ahead and let's get into the BIOS. Okay. Right, so memory tuning, I don't think I'm going to do much of that tonight. What I might quickly do is, once I got the IMC down to temperature, just apply a little bit of extra voltages there and see if it will work on the presets. The main thing tonight is really just to try and get a little bit familiar with the board and its behavior. So let's go ahead and just get down to temperature. And while we get down to temperature, I'll sit in the BIOS. Right, and on the last page, they've got a nice little table here with some safe voltages. Just for some sort of guidance. CPU core voltage, LN2 up to 1.95 volts. It's crazy. DRAM up to 2.2. System agent up to 1.5. VCCIO up to 1.5. Okay, so while we're waiting for the temperatures to drop, let's go through and have a look at what is actually provided to us in the BIOS. Alright, so as all ROG boards would come with your presets. What's different with the Apex is that we start to see some overclocker profiles coming in. So at the bottom we should have a debugger, 5G manual, 5G adaptive, SLAM's benchmark profile, SLAM's LN2 profile. So at the very bottom, if you have a look down here, it gives you a little bit of info about what that profile is. So if we have a look at debugger, manual, CPU 5 gig, 1.35 manual voltage and XMP enabled, suitable for 24/7 if your CPU and cooling can handle it. Down clocks to 4.7 for AVX instructions. That's quite a nice little informative breakdown. So it's really nice and handy if you're wanting to one-click go and set what would be, it should be fairly universal. SLAMs, benchmarking profile, CPU to 5.1, 1.45 without power saving, and onboard devices disabled. Make sure your cooling is adequate when using this profile. And then SLAM's LN2, CPU at 5.5, 1.6 volts, high voltages all around. Only apply when CPU temperature is at least minus 100, and make sure LN2 mode is enabled. So I'm guessing that these overclocker profiles should be sort of like a baseline that we should all be able to use. That would go through and set all the things that we like to disable on every single session. What my advice would be to use these as a baseline and to go and see what it changes, and then to set up your own profile for the long term, or go through a routine where you'd use the baseline profiles that come stock standard in the BIOS as your profile, and then memorize the steps you take in order to customize it to your own requirements. So for instance, if you go to a live competition, some of them don't allow you to have profiles or papers or anything, which means you need to, at the top of your head, remember what settings you have on your home system. So it's quite a good exercise to just go through the routine over and over and over again, so it becomes second nature, and you can know how to handle the scenario under pressure. Right, so I don't know if I want to try any of those just yet. There's no real description for the rest of them. There's load CPU 5G OC profile. This 5G OC profile allows you to easily overclock the Intel 7th Gen core processor K series only to 5G. Note, overclocking may vary by processor and it does not guarantee stability. Alright. So we'll start with that one. We just got to get the temperature down. Alright, so along with the overclocking presets, the other presets that you should get on the board would be your memory presets. And for BDAR, again, something new on the Apex which we haven't seen before is the overclockers profiles. So they've given us two of Dankop's profiles for BDAR, both saying is XTU world record or is XTU profiles. Then we got Freddie Armour's 32M profiles, and we got Roger's looks like an air sort of profile, loosish timings. I tested that profile quickly last night before I went to bed, and I just got 55s. So I'm not terribly sure of my quality of memory I'm using, but for tonight I'm not really too concerned with memory. I might come in and just load a profile up a little later. For the most part, I believe we need to retune all of our tertiary timings on Z270 from Z170. So I did a lot of work on Z170 and tuning things down and getting it really nice, and I'm going to have to go through the whole thing again. It just takes time. Right, so we are at temperature. So theoretically I should be able to power down, load the to basically F10 the profile, and we should be booting at 5.5. So let's just go through. I haven't really had much of a look. Let's just have a look at Tweaker's Paradise. DMR voltage, core PLL, level 2 PL, internal PLL. So these are the voltages that they were talking about in the guide that need to be set. Internal PLL voltage, they say here, voltage to 1.095 if you have problems with the lockups applying. So it's setting some nice voltages. DMR hectic. Okay, and then just have a look at that. That's okay. That's all nicely set for us, which is great. We've got boot voltages which have been set. VCCI 1.4. Now I might be repeating and just talking out loud, but you must remember this is my first time playing with this platform. I really don't know what to expect. It should be quite similar to Z170, I should imagine, but I don't know. Let's just set a 1.4 here, maybe. I'll leave it at auto. Yeah, I think we're good to go. We should be booting 5.5. First try, let's try. Alright, so very quickly, now remember I told you we've loaded a profile. If you ever want to know what that profile is set exactly away from the system defaults, is when you F10 and press enter, it will bring up the configuration items. So you can go through each item that was set. So there's never any doubt about what each profile will do. And as soon as you start getting more comfortable with it, you won't really bother too much. But if you are feeling a bit wary of what that profile might have set, you can always just verify it here, cancel it out if you're not happy, and go and tweak it yourself. And that's also a way that you can go through and set the different profiles and see what the changes are between the profiles. That's also going to be quite handy if you want to have a look at the difference between say Dankop's XTU profile and Freddie Armour's 32M profile. You can load the one, boot it, then go and load the other one and F10 it, and it'll tell you what the differences are. And you can see, maybe get an idea of what the different benchmarks are looking for as far as memory configuration is concerned. So let's just go ahead, F10, save that. So temperature is currently sitting at 107. and I have no idea of the boot sequence on this new platform. It's something else I have to learn through several sessions. What I do know is that guys have also been saying that the boot process is quite lengthy when working with BDAR. So just as it was with Z170, right? Right, so we've loaded up the 5.5 profile. I can't remember whose profile it was, but we've loaded it up. And we can just go through and verify what we've got going on, test for stability, and go from there. So our memory is really just stock standard. We'll need to do something there, I think. Oh yeah, I'm running BIOS 801. I did notice that there is a newer BIOS out there that Alex Rowe was using, but I'm not too sure. I didn't see it available. Good evening, Doc Gregor. How are you doing this evening? Thanks for tuning in. Alright, so that's a crash. Yeah. So did we crash because we were too hot, or did we crash because our voltages are wrong, or because we got a bad CPU or a bad mount? I am not sure. What we'll do is we'll get the temperature colder. Maybe we'll get to like 140ish. I want to have a look at that cold boot bug fix, which is the first switch here we can enable. So it's RSVD switch. Now there's a movie that I'm actually quite excited to watch. Do come back and give me your feedback on how it was, man. I just hope it's not going to be disappointing like a couple other movies lately. I remember watching the first, Ghost in the Shell anime movie by accident back in the day. It blew my mind. I actually quite enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to this new one. But I'm not much of an anime geek, so I think that's about the only movie that, and what was that other one called that I really enjoyed? But anyway, so yeah, do enjoy the movie. Right, so we're running the same settings. The only difference is I'm at minus 130 now compared to the minus 120 I was at before. So it looks like the voltages set in this profile were good for 5.5. It was just really a temperature issue that I was having. All right. So what approach are we going to take? We're going to take the approach of just changing the ratio up until we no longer boot and then up the voltages. Good plan, Stan. We will leave the cache ratio. Yeah. And what I want to do is I slowly want to get down to, say, maybe 150 degrees. Okay, so at the same time I need to open up my notebook and just record how we do with this CPU. We'll start a new page, 770K, Apex, and this one we're working with now is the ASUS 1136. So ASUS, okay. When I said ASUS now 1136, Siri picked up on my phone and asked me, what can I help you with? It's like, leave me alone, Siri, I'm not interested, man. Alright, so how many volts? R15 5G 4.5 cache and water? I have no idea, man. I haven't tested the CPU on water or air. It came straight out of the plastic wrapper yesterday, got delidded, got put on the board, straight to LN2. So these first few sessions on the Apex are really going to be all about me finding my direction. Just trying to find a little bit of comfort levels on the Z270 platform. Alright, so what was that? That was 57 at 1.6, right? It sounds like a fairly nice trip there, Dark Rigger. 1.22 5G. What was the maximum ratio you could go up to on air or water? At what voltages? Alright, so we are up to 559 ratio. We're still hovering around minus 150 degrees. And we're still sitting at 1.6 on the voltages. And we are scaling, so I'm just going to keep going at this until we crash, and then I'll up the voltages, and then I'll maybe go a bit cooler. I don't know where we expect it to end, at what voltages. You know, 5.4 is really, I think it's pretty good. 4 core, 4 thread though, yeah, sure. What type of water cooling were you using there, Doc Rigger? Yeah, I struggled to get 5.3 working on the titanium using the Cooler Master and Neptune 280L. So I think 54 is pretty good. fresh water 16 degrees, yeah, nice. Yeah, one of the projects I want to get looking at starting up in the next couple of weeks is a cooling tower. I actually want to put 2 rods out through this wall right here and put the cooling tower outside the OC lab and use evaporation cooling for a really effective water loop with conductor knot to see how far I could really push. But you know, that's a project that has been on my mind for a while. I just got to prioritize it, I guess. I think it'll be quite cool, especially for these ambient, you know, I say ambient bloody competitions, these guys that are running with sub-zero temperatures outside. I think the cooling tower and conductor knot is the only trick up one sleeve that you can compete with those guys. But we'll see how it goes. So let's do a quick recap. Minus 150. We have passed Cinebench R15 at 1.6 volts with a 61 ratio. So 6.1 gig. 55 on the cache, but we're not looking at that just yet. And all I'm doing is I'm going through the ratios at a fixed voltage to see where it crashes out, and then adjust it from there. So I'll do the same type of testing with all 3 of my chips, and I know I've got one chip which I think is going to be a nasty chip. It's got a really high VID, and then I've got this chip which has got a low VID, and then I've got that chip I bought from Hazan which has got a low VID and the right batch. So between these 3 chips I should be able to get a baseline as to how to understand the platform. Because you can't just test one chip and understand what's going on. You need to test good, you need to test bad, and you need to test awesome if you're lucky enough to be able to do that, to really get a good feel for what's going on. Well, yeah, that's exactly my point. You know, the temperature in Africa is vastly different than the temperature in Sweden, for instance. And when you're competing in these challenges, or even France for that sake, we were in the middle of summer running with temperatures of 35 degrees, and then the guys up in the northern hemisphere were middle of winter, and they were sitting at 5 degrees, you know, competing in the same ambient temperature competition. It was just I just gave up eventually. You can't compete with these guys. And I actually did a test. In order for me to keep up with the temperatures that they were running, I needed to use LN2. I couldn't even keep up with them, their temperatures, using chilled water. I needed to keep the pot. You know, it was absolutely crazy. That's why eventually I just pulled out of that whole competition. I got far enough, got my lucky draw prize, and walked away happy, you know. And it's hard work overclocking ambient temperatures when you're not playing on the same level playing field. It's difficult. Anyway, I'm not going to complain too much. Right, so surprisingly, that's 6.3 and we're still running at 1.6 volts. And it's still scaling. I should actually be writing the scores here, but I've been slick. So our temperature 154-ish. It's got a 6.4, man. You know, and I was saying at the beginning of the stream that if I can do 6.4, I'd be happy. And I've just done 6.3 at 1.6 volts. It's insane. But yeah. Hey Jumper 118, how are you doing, man? Thanks for tuning in again. Right, so let's do a recap. I am at 1.6 volts on the processor. I'm at minus 155 on the core. I am at 64 multiplier at 1.6 volts and going up to 160 degrees with that last pour at the end of the test. And let's try 65. And let's see where we are. So we're at minus 160 degrees. .6 volts still. Yeah, man, I'm quite happy with this chip. So 1369. Alright, so let's just open up CPU-Z and give you guys a load down. So right, I haven't touched the memory. I haven't touched the cache. The cache is still sitting at 5.5. Memory is still sitting at pretty much stock. And the motherboard I'm using the Apex, and the CPU I've got currently at 6.5 G. The voltage 1.6 volts. What is my advanced template? What do you mean advanced template? Oh, you want to have a look here? Advanced, right? So basically, all I've used is the preset that comes in the overclocking side of it, just the 5.5 template. I haven't tweaked anything yet. I'm still just pushing to see where my max is at 1.6 volts and to see where we stop and where we need to start tweaking. So this, either I've got an exceptionally easy chip, or this board is ridiculously easy to OC, man. I'm not too sure which it is. We'll have to try other chips before we can jump to conclusions. So next we'll try 6.6. I'm at minus 155. Alright, so it looks like we finally got a crash. 6.6, 1.6, minus 155, and that's crash. Alright, so let's see how can we get the system back. Just go to 7G at 2 volts, right, man, that's awesome. Alright, so let's just overclocking presets. I use the SLAM's LN2 profile. That's basically all I've done so far. I've loaded up the SLAM's LN2 profile, and I've just been upping the ratio in Windows to try and max out what the CPU can do. So we got up to 6.5 at 1.6 volts at minus 150 degrees before we crashed out. So now what I'll try and do is maybe just upping the voltages a bit. Maybe we need to go a bit cold. I'm not 100% sure yet. Alrighty. So what I'm just doing now is just making sure that I can still run like 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.6, 1.65 volts now, and see what happens there. Temperature I'm going to try and keep around 160 now. So 6.5 was the last successful run we had, and that was 6.3. The score is lower, but doesn't matter. Okay, so we got the same score that we got before. We'll up the multiplier and try again. Alright, so we got further than we were before. On 1.6 volts, we crashed on the first square. So this should be running 6.6, right? Yep. Okay. So I think we're going to need to start applying voltages. Each multiplier we're going up now from this point. That'll going colder. Let's try voltages first. Alright, so again at 6.7 we at 1.65 crashed. Full screen. So we'll try 1.7. So if we can do 67 at 1.7, that should be quite nice, I think. What's average for KB Lake on R15? I haven't even done any research. What are we going to call this? Z270. Temperature. Okay, so I basically got too warm there, and the system froze for the voltages. Alright, so top 20 would be a 6.750 chip. .75. Thereabout would be top 20. Okay. Okay, crash again. 1.68. So minus 168 at 1.7. I think we need to go colder. Maybe. Okay, I just want to make sure we can still run 6.6, last known good configuration. And then while we're there, we're just going to get the temperature down. No, I'm not at full pot yet. Well, I'm pretty close to full pot, minus 170 at the moment. I'm going to try and get to full pot now, I think. So that's basically full pot. Minus 184. Yeah, that's full pot. Okay. Like I said, this is my first LN2 session with Z270. So full pot is still a new theory to me. On Z170 I was never able to run full pot other than the very first sessions I had in Taiwan. The CPUs I had like to be just underneath full pot, minus 175 around there. So these are all still things that I've got to learn and discover with the new platform. I must say it's been very freaking easy getting to the point where I'm at the moment. It hasn't been difficult at all. Alright, so that's running full pot now basically. Get LN2 bubbling away. Now normally with Z170 during Cinebench you'd be pouring, and then about this stage now you grab the torch and start blasting the bloody thing to get it back. Alright, so that is basically 6.7 done and dusted. So 6.7. We need to, for top 20, we need to get 6750 at a minimum. My score is well off, but I mean I've done nothing on memory or anything to that effect. Probably also the wrong OS. Tonight was never about getting anything competitive as far as scores are concerned, but more discovering what we can do with the board. So let's stop playing games and let's just whack it 1.8 and whack it 68. Cancel that, just save that as 68 and see if we can get anywhere with that. Alright, 6.8. Wow, this new platform, I don't know if I'm just lucky, but this has been quite easy. Alright, 6.8, no go. Let's see where we are with the cold boot bug. Let's get back to the chat window, sorry. Okie dokie. Go through the motions again. That was 60, 66, 67, and we'll just run 67 again just to make sure that we are crack free still, and then go and try 68 again. I can hear a definite change in in the boiling of the LN2 when it's running and when it's not running. Heat is definitely not our friend with this. That's quite something, right? So what did we try last? We tried 1.8. We'll up that to 5.5. Again, we just save our progress so we can always got somewhere to go back to. I'm going to go ahead and fill this pot up to the top of the copper. No point in filling it all the way up with the aluminium because you're just wasteful. And give it another try. No go. Okay, so what are we going to try now? More core, V-core. I don't think it will help. Let's just keep going. $1.9. No. Yeah, that's one method of doing it. I just want to see if I can max out the max it out on the ratio, you know. B clock would be once I can't go up to the next ratio, once I've tried all my options, should I say, once I've tried tuning a few other voltages on the base clock, then what I'll do is up the ratio to see what my maximum is on the 67 ratio. So it could just be that 67 ratio is the highest that this chip will do, or it could just be that maybe I need to increase the PLL voltage, or maybe the RO voltage might help, more RO voltage. I'm not too sure. We'll try up to 1.6. They say that the safe on LN2 for PLL termination voltage is up to 1.9 and system voltage up to 1.5. So I think we can try increasing that. The IO voltage, they say up to 1.5, yeah, and the system agent shouldn't be a problem because we're not touching memory. So we can try just with upping that to see if there's any difference in stability, if we maybe get one block further or one block less, but they crash straight away. I don't know, I think that could be the maximum. Right, so same scenario, and I think it's got to do with temperature, to be honest. I think we've reached our thermal threshold. At 6.7, when you start the benchmark, you can clearly hear the intensity of the bubbling increasing, right? Which means it's able to counteract the load on the CPU with the cooling, so it's able to find that nice medium. Now, when I apply the higher voltages, the higher ratio, I get that initial intense bubbling and then it crashes. So I think we might need to have a look at the 67 multiplier with that voltage and see where we can go up with the base clock, maybe, like you said there, kiss 1 2 3. Okay, so I just got a low battery warning on my microphone. 1 second, I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm back. So the batteries that came out of the transmitter yesterday went on charge overnight. I just plugged them in and they don't work. So it looks like those rechargeable batteries are dead in the water. Okay, I just need to check to make sure. Okay, yeah, I've got volume. Everybody can hear me loud and clear, right? Yeah. Oh, so I'm lucky my house didn't blow up. I tried to recharge a zinc carbon battery instead of a rechargeable battery. That could have been interesting. So that would be why the batteries I charged up overnight didn't charge. My bad. I don't know how I ended up with non-rechargeables. Okay, right, anyway. Ah, that could have been interesting. Right, so now I haven't been watching the temperature. So let's just get back down to temperature. Right, so let's get back to our stable 6.7 and see where we can go from there. Okay, it's pretty low voltages. I mean, it really should be able to scale past 1.76. You'd think, right? So it must be something idiotic I'm doing. Maybe we've just got one bad core that doesn't want to scale past. Let's see. It's a pretty big jump, right? Right. So that was a reset. That wasn't a hard lock. So we should be overcome that with maybe a little bit more voltage. Okie dokie. Ah, that was interesting. So what did you call it there, Doc Rigger? You, a little bit further back, you said 6.7, 1.85 volts. Okay, so yeah, You'll probably be spot on there. 6.750 at 1.85 looks probably where it's going to end up. So not the worst chip in the world, not the best chip in the world, but pretty damn good for first session. I'm quite happy with that. My best as 6700K was 4 cores, 8 threads, 6.4. So I should be able to do a little bit of damage to my personal bests with this chip, that's for sure. Let's just update what 1.85 and see where we end up. No, it's definitely got to do with temperature now. Still sounds like it's running, but it's not. It's too hot. The temperature is too high. Can't handle that delta, that swing. So right, I've got to start testing different pots. Maybe modifying. I saw Alan Splave has modified his Venom to have more surface area, which basically makes it handle the cold a bit better. Maybe that's the direction one needs to be taking. We've got different thermal pastes we can try as well. Or liquid helium. Yeah, it could be a crack as well. I got real temp here. It could be crack. I didn't hear a crack, but it might have been real faint. It didn't apply that. There we go. Alright, so it doesn't look like a crack. I've got 0 degrees on the CPU still. So we could go to slow mode, really get that temperature down, and then pump out of slow mode to run the benchmark. It's really extreme. Let's just go back to 1.835. Yeah, I think I'm at the max of the CPU, 4-core 8 thread really. Let's just try and squeeze the absolute max. Can't use special characters. Yeah, you can maybe probably get a little bit higher, Win 7, or even maybe with a cleaner Windows 10. But this gives me a really good indication of where I'm at. It's not a complete flopper. which I'm happy about, which was the mission for tonight, is just to start getting to grips with Z270, man. So that's also crashed out. I'm looking at core voltage there in CPU-Z. That's gone up to 1.92. Is there adaptive voltages? What's going on with that? Okay, I didn't even think about that. The voltages might be set to adaptive, which means it might be scaling up, which means the 1.76 I've set is not the real voltage. Let me have a look at that quickly. What's the time? Okay, I've been live for an hour 13. Yeah, what I'll do is before the next session I have to build a Windows 7 and an XP OS for Z270. I don't have one at the moment, so it's not as easy as me just switching, unfortunately. But I will have to retest. Right. Yeah, I do use CloneZilla for all my OSs. The problem being is that with Z270 it uses a different driver. So I have to, I've got the card out already. I have to get my SATA card installed. I then need to load the image on the new SATA, load the drivers, then ghost it, and I haven't done any of that yet on Z270. You know, with the baby and with the in-laws and everything else, I haven't had the time to do a lot of preparation work on Z270. And it shows when you're now in the middle of an OC session and you can't even deploy a ghost image. But baby steps, we get there. Okay, right, so if the running voltage is 1.84. I don't think I've got, what's the name's enabled? What do you call it? Load line calibration or whatever you want to call it nowadays. So the voltages I've been running are actually slightly higher than so let's do this. That's 1.88 voltage. Hey, quick fast, how you doing? So what's going on? Very quickly, it's my first LN2 session with the Maximus IX Apex. I've got a 7700K delidded with thermal grizzly cryonaut. I managed to get up to 6.7 G very quickly, and then I sort of hit a roadblock going past 6.7 G, and for the last couple of minutes I've just been trying to figure my way through Z270 voltages and temperatures and the motherboard to try and see if I can squeeze a bit more out of it. And that's basically what has been going on this evening. Further to that, yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. What's happening with you this evening? Right, so let me just explain to you what I've done now. So what I've done now is I've set the voltages up, not moving the clock at all, just to see if I can handle the temperature with those voltages. So I've got it up to 1.9 volts now. With the adaptive voltages, it's 1.82 set. And now it's just a case of, we know that that is 1.9 volts. Right, and then what we'll do is we'll just go up the base clock little bit by little bit and see where we stop. So I'm having a real hard time keeping up with this temperature load. I'm dropping down to, it's up to 176 now from 186. So I'm really struggling to maintain the temperature with this pot and with this paste and with this load. Interesting question. You know, the Beast is a great pot. I'll definitely give that a try on the next run. But the Beast also has problems keeping up with load under high load, especially on X99. I did find the Beast to be a little bit better, but on this new generation, I'm not too sure. I will be trying it out definitely on the next session over this pot. The only reason I'm using the Kingpin tonight is because of these rods that came with the Kingpin Inferno. So what I've done is on my normal, I'll quickly show you just while the temperatures are coming back. So on the normal Kingpin mount, right, it comes with those M3 holes, and on my one I actually tapped it out to M4, so I used the shorter rods, but I wasn't sure of the size of the rod needed for the Inferno because of the quite thick pad it's got underneath. So I wanted to mount everything up first using the stock standard M3 rods, so that I could mark it off and then cut new M4 rods for the Inferno, and then I'm going to tap out the Inferno to use the M4 rods, then I can carry on using the Beast. But you know, my time is a little bit scarce at the moment, so I wanted to just get the benching going and not mount and remount and do all of that hoo-ha. Right, so let's just see if this runs now. So basically in between runs I'm giving the system enough time just to cool down again, just to get that temperature to a decent level. So a lot of guys have also been saying that the Kingpin paste is better on this platform for cracking. I haven't cracked yet. I've never experienced a very large. These batteries are also shot. Hold on, let me see. I've got one more set here that should be charged, but okay, are we back? Looks like we've got a rechargeable battery crisis in the OC lab at the moment. Bloody ridiculous. Right guys, so that last run actually didn't finish. Okay. Yeah, sound is back. Okay, we've crashed there. No, yes, we've crashed. 1060. Right, so you guys that have had experience with the Apex and Z270, load light calibration, do you leave it on? Do you leave it on? Do you disable it? What's the desired setting? Base clock aware adaptive voltage enabled, and when enabled, peak code will be aware of the base clock frequency. This is ideal for base clock OC. To avoid high voltage overrides, use OC mailbox command. I'm not too sure about that. Is there even a load line calibration option? Maybe. G plus, okay. Alright, okay, load light 8. Okay, so greater V droop is 1, level 7 minimum V droop, so we've got level 8, which should be now no V droop, right? Okay. So the only question I have is, does anybody know what base clock aware adaptive voltage is? Base clock aware adaptive voltage enable disable. When enabled, P code will be aware of the base clock frequency when calculating the CPU VF curves. This is ideal for base clock OC to avoid high voltage overrides. Okay. Tweaker's Paradise and current CPU capability in 200%. I don't see that option. I don't understand. Okay, I disable this one, but honestly I don't know what it is. Right, okay, well, let's try disabling it. I don't know what that is. I should imagine if we want to OC things, we want to disable it. CPU over temperature control. We'll disable that as well, right, yes. Okay, so that's a new option I haven't seen before. Otherwise, I think it looks alright. Let's just give that a go. Okay, so I need to start looking at the time. 8:30, so I need to wrap this up. You should tweak all the base clock options in Tweaker Paradise also. Okay. Oh, I've got 00. So I should now hit the, what's it, SV something switch route. Give it another try. No. Great. Yeah, 00 is too frozen. We've got ourselves a cold boot bug. Alright, so we came back at 170. I think we might have just cracked. Hopefully not. So 6.7, yeah, for sure. I've already got 6.7 on R15. Yes, moving past 6.7 is where I'm having an issue with. Maybe we can just have a look at those settings you said we should also have a look at. What are you saying? I should tweak all of the base clock options in Tweaker Paradise also. Okay, I haven't seen any base clock options there. I'll have a squiz shortly. Right, so while we're waiting for all of this to come back, how have you guys experienced the stream over the last couple of days as far as buffering and all that sort of stuff is concerned? I am using a new stream server in South Africa, so whereas in the past what I was doing is I was streaming up to a server in Taiwan, and then from there I was splitting out to Facebook, YouTube and to Twitch. Now what I've actually done is I've rented a server here in South Africa where I stream from my wireless network onto the local server, and then from that server I'm streaming out to the world. And yeah, I've used it since I've been back from the holidays. That's what I've been streaming on. So it'll be interesting to know if you guys have experienced a better stream or not. Right, so let's go Tweaker's Paradise. So we've got FCLK, okay, initial base clock frequency. That should just be like 100 or whatever the case might be, right? Okay, that should be able to leave amplitude, okay, skew rate, bed spectrum, and slew rate. Right, so what advice do you have for me on those settings? I've never really messed with them terribly much. FLCK, 1G I've already got, yeah. 4.5 disable. 4.5 disable. Spectra, yeah, okay. And then disable maybe as well. Slew rate, auto. We'll try disable. Okay, that's something new. Thanks for the tips there. I've never played with those much. Low. Alright, well thanks for that info. So that will help with the fluctuations, right? So jumping from, 6.73 to 6.74, that type of stuff. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. Okay, very good. So what we do now is we'll go ahead and save this as okay, awesome. Thanks for that. That's handy information, especially when it comes to the 5G challenge, for instance. Alright, so what else are we going to try? Yeah, max PLL termination, it's at 1.5 at the moment. I did try going up to 1.6 to see if that helped at all, but that's just, I got one test done with it and it didn't really help. Did you find that the PLL termination voltage helped? I see in the guide they say up to 1.9. I think I tried up to 1.6 and that's about as far as I got. And then we started mucking about with base clock, trying to see if we could go up, or what the maximum we could go up to at 6.7 with base clock, right? So yeah, it's something I do need to try, right? So this is 6.7, and yeah, the PLL term voltage 1.5 was basically just what was set on the profile. It's my first session with Z270, so I've really got to just start to get to grips and do a lot of testing and playing, and I plan to do it all live. I don't care. I look like a bit of an ass, but at least we're all learning together, right? Right, so this was running the last time, but we did find that the voltage set was not the voltage that it was running. Alright, so what I'm actually also noticing at the moment is that I can't keep up the cooling with the heat that's been generated. So upping the PLL term might not help me in the long run, but it's worth a try, right? Everything's worth a try. So before we made all those changes in the BIOS, this profile was running. Only problem is I'm not too sure is what the real voltage was. But winning temperature will win you megahertz, yeah, for sure. So I can try lowering that 1.5 to say 1.4, for instance. Try running it down and seeing if it helps. It's a good idea. Thanks for the info. So what we can actually do is we can take the 6.7 and start lowering the termination voltage and seeing as where it crashes, right? And then by lowering the termination voltage, I might be able to gain more megahertz. That's a good strategy to deploy. Okay, so that's no go. That's an instant crash. That's not just a crash, that's a lockup. Yeah, it is a hard game. Look, I'm really happy. My goal for this evening was really to reach 6.4, 4 cores, 8 threads. And yeah, beaten that by 300 megahertz. So that's goal achieved. For my first session on 7700K with Z270, I'm quite chuffed. The next trick is really to get some OSs up and running and get making some scores. Dark Rigger, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the movie, you lucky bastard. We'll catch up with you later. I could do this all night, but I've also got to start thinking about time, eh? I've got to. The baby will be getting up in about 45 minutes for her 10 o'clock meal time. And then after 10 o'clock meal time, I've got to get some sleep because the baby wakes up again in 3 hours after that. Otherwise it becomes a very long day tomorrow. Right, well. I wonder if we just try higher and higher and just keep trying. I think it's temperature related because it's getting halfway through the benchmark and then sort of freezing out, you know. I think that's temperature somewhere along the lines. Maybe better paste or different paste, better mount, maybe different pot. Okay, that's looking, that's 1.5. Yeah. I don't know if it's actually helping my case at all, or if it's hurting. So that was a reboot. Right, so we're going to go ahead and call it that in Windows 10, that CPU 6.730 maybe-ish. Is its max for the moment. First session max. What I want to see is maybe if I can bring that V core down a bit. Yeah, okay, well, let's not prolong the inedible. Let's get one more sort of final run in. Remember, no memory OC has been done, no CPU cache. Maybe we can play with the cache a bit, see where that goes up to. But, you know, I'm starting to look at time. I think we might as well just call it a good first session. Yeah, I've been streaming for almost 2 hours, so the baby will be arriving soon. And the only reason why I need to wrap my sessions up when the baby needs feeding at 10 o'clock is because after that 10 o'clock feed you need to go to bed and get your 3 hours of sleep before the next feed, because otherwise you wake up tomorrow like a zombie with a crying or with a child to look after. It's quite an interesting thing, this parenting. I think the Inferno works quite nicely. My memory modules are, for the most part, warm. I've had a look around the board once during the session and felt around the MOSFETs. They are warm. I mean, there's no condensation there. So, really, I think it's worth the $100 compared to the old thermal pads I used to use. It'll be interesting to see how it performs in Taiwan, though, with that extreme humidity. Right, so we know that is stable, and we go up to 8, and then we go to 45. That should be our max, and it should run easy. Well, easy. Wrong one. So it finishes, but it doesn't finish. It doesn't give me a score, which means it's not actually finishing. Let me try one bump in voltage. So if you have a look at the temperature, I'm down to 175 and dropping. I'm not able to keep up with the heat this chip is producing. Alright, so there's a finished run, 6730, and I said to make top 20 you needed around 6750, and if you have a look at number 19, Loud Silence, 6734. So it's borderline pushing into top 20 on Cinebench. Oh wait, that's R11. Let's just have a look at R15. Cinebench R15. Okay, so 6731 Lumi got at number 19, 17 Bench Bros 6730, 6731 is the best, sort of 1524. So not a bad chip by the looks of it. Not great. It's not golden by any means, but for a random chip, the batch is L640. So it's one batch after the 639s that are doing very well. and yeah, I'm pretty happy for a first session, first CPU. I'm quite good with that. Yeah, I should have around 1500, so I'm running the wrong operating system. I haven't done the core, and my memory is nowhere, so pretty much down to operating system, I think, maybe, or maybe cache. I don't know if it scales at all with cache. Let's see if we try. Okay, and we froze. Memory is not tuned at all. Yeah, so I'm running full on stock memory. Really, the point for today was just to start getting a feel for CPU overclocking. So having a look at where we were with the core and maybe a little bit of the cache, understanding the profiles, what worked, what didn't work. So yeah, really, I'm happy with the achievement and with the mission. Next step will be to test what I think is a bad CPU, or to test what I think is a good CPU with different, yeah, or try with a different thermal paste. Yeah, 100% normal, Orion. So let's just load 6.7, and let's just go, give us 58. Yeah, so if you want to have a look at the memory, you'll see that I'm running stock standard as per whatever the profile has loaded. I haven't gone in and done anything on that. Alright guys, well, I think I'm going to say good night and goodbye. I'm going to go ahead and break down the system and just call it a night. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, Orion and Dark Rego, everybody else, thanks for the help. I really do appreciate the feedback and the interaction. The channel wouldn't be the same without the comments and the help. Yeah. So have a good evening, everyone, and thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I guess happy benching. Yeah, Jumper, thanks for tuning in again. We will be back, so make sure you subscribe to get notification of when I go live. But yeah, everyone, thanks for tuning in. I'll do my signature. Until next time, happy benching. Dun dun dun.